needed 500,000 units of affordable housing. And as an industry, we were only generating 5,000 units as a whole industry. Done with water catchment. We are planned because that concept, and it is all based on native and indigenous ways of building by earth, right? Because we don't have any more wood left. So, and it's better insulation. So if you can do that naturally, then we slowly take that money back into our own pockets and then create that long-term stability for not just, our most vulnerable populations like people experiencing homelessness, but we can all do this to then take a little bit back from utility systems that have actually been created by oppressive systems, right? So it's basically, your PG&E was created to take advantage of an influx of people going to the gold rush, and they're like, oh, we can take advantage of all these people. So when a system or, a country is based on oppression, then you see the long-term effects over the years and over the generations, which then leads me to the active genocide of Native and Indigenous women. So New Mexico has the highest reported cases of missing and murdered Indigenous women. And there are hundreds and thousands of reports that are not reported. And so the oppression of Leonard Peltier, and him being in jail wrongfully, and it's literally a representation of what is occurring right now and why we need to support these communities, because we need to basically create healthy communities to make people less vulnerable to violence. So if we connect not only the housing and living, but the support services like case management, we're checking in every week. And then also, making sure everyone who's involved, maintenance people, property management, are all trauma informed. So we're all coming from a place of housing retention and not eviction. And the only way we can address the high housing costs is to build naturally through the earth. So for example, adobe is a great way to build a home. However, you do need more materials and more time because it needs to have an insulation in between the adobe insulation and then adobe, so that the weather outside is not the weather inside. So Taos Pueblo is basically the leader of adobe building and earth builds and living, in the concept of sovereignty. And so all of this is all based in the concept of sovereignty. And how do we tackle all of these issues of climate change, of homelessness, of, oppression, systems of oppression? Well, we have to take that money back. And how do we do that? Well, the things that we're forced to pay into, the high housing costs, the utility costs, healthcare costs, and blah, 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 gas and oil, right? So if we then combine efficient technology to work for us, we can then create income opportunities in these communities by using that technology and creating these fun, cool opportunities for our youth to stay here and live this way and want to live here. And they want to live here, they just see no opportunity. So how do we do this? Well, this is how we do it. And if we build foundationally sustainably, then we can cut those costs naturally. And if Heart can generate one and hopefully balloon into a large community project, then we can then create lower costs per unit as we create economies of scale. And our goal is to then create pathways for all of us to understand, how do I become more sustainable and get off the teat, right? The corporate, slavery and all that stuff that we all we're like, oh my God, the government needs to save us. They're not going to save us. So this is how we do this. And the reason why I know it works, because we actually did it ourselves. My husband and I literally left Burbank and paying $1,500, and driving. So you're driving constantly, right? In traffic, all that stuff. So if you can do more remote work or really balance that and try to balance like, hey, let's do a entrepreneur thing, and then let's create this e-commerce business for you to do beadwork or blah, 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 blah. There's so many talented people, but we need to create that support system to allow them to, get there, because we're not starting at ground zero, right? We all think, oh, we're starting at ground zero. No, these are people who have had all the adverse childhood effects, that we work with, and homelessness in itself is a traumatic event. So even though you're like, oh, he was just homeless, that in itself is trauma. When you're simply trying to survive, that in itself, your mentality changes. So that's why we need to create permanent communities, because that simple change in mentality of permanence allows you to start healing. So and I don't know how many times I have to say this, but there's so many research, and I can send references and backup information of why this will work. But just simply in terms of cost, it will work. And the reason why it hasn't been done is because people are ego driven and they want to promote their product, this and that. So they keep those utility costs for those renters, right? So you're like, why am I still paying when I'm getting free solar? Well, that's why you have to really build purely from the ground up and have a mission that you're trying to attack affordable housing. Because if housing was affordable for everyone, we would simply just call it housing. And whenever people come to me and say, oh, well, I can't build that way, I'm like, that's why people like me exist, because people are only looking at profit and not the people. And so, and it's like, we got to change the way we think. And if I can show this one concept, there are multiple community agencies in our Taos community that want to then do this, and including a local church that maybe wants to donate their land to start another 4 to 6 unit project. So, and so really all I'm asking is be on the lookout on our social media and share it. We think that, I'm going in for some federal funds and seeing if they will fund something this crazy. They've told me no in the past, but hey, maybe it will work. But if we can just share the idea, it's about the concept so that we can all get off the corporate slavery, right? And so what we do is, okay, we put you into low-income apartments, then you're forced to go work at Walmart. How are you ever supposed to come out of debt or whatever when you're simply just feeding people back into the system? So this is, basically how, combined with my background of community affordable housing development, combined with my husband's experience and professional background in recyclable and sustainable. And we basically had this crazy blowout, oh my God, this is how you get off the oppression. And then basically it starts with housing, utilities, food, and then you holy shit, you can go into insurance and banking, and that's where Chief Mitigaw comes in. He's got this plan. Can we do it in the US and combine forces, right? So that's basically what we're trying to do here. And there's a lot of people, that I've met in Taos who've been in prison, and they had this little tiny home that they did. They had a little water catchment thing. But because the propaganda and the way our society views everything, he was looking down on himself for that. So when I presented at a local class, he was in there and I said, do you realize that the billionaires are the ones who are doing everything wrong? And you, if you do these things, are doing it right and helping all these factors by just living and existing in this type of community. He comes up to me afterwards. He goes, oh my God, I'm literally doing all these things. And I'm like, you're literally the solution. And his attitude just flipped, and he became proud. And that's what I want. It's like, you have the power and we can do it. We just need an organization to help support everyone. And that's basically what we're trying to do as such, a small little organization in Taos. But I'm going to stop.
That's really amazing. Thank you for sharing all of that with us. She does have some great ideas, and it's all aligned with Leonard's vision for, like I said earlier, he's sitting in prison and he's worried about us. And so I think we definitely need to have Kim back to talk some more about that. But quickly, I wanted to give a shout out. I hope I'm not putting him on the spot, but Nathan